Last night, the United States played Mexico in the Concacaf Nations League Semifinal, and this game was peak Concacaf. Not only was there 9 yellow cards, 4 red cards, the game ended early due to discriminatory chanting. There was also the Gregg Berhalter news that was just dropped in front of everybody right before kickoff. So it was just a crazy night for US soccer. But the US was able to get the job done. They've had a pretty good record against Mexico in their last few games, and they're back in the Nations League final for the second time in a row. So you love to see that. I thought this game was pure dominance by the United States. They dominated on all levels, a solid 3-0 victory, and they honestly could have scored even more goals than that. Pulisic, the big game player, Captain America, stepped up big time. He had 2 goals. He honestly could have had a hat trick. There was the chance he missed in the first half. He stepped up, played really well. He loves a goal against Mexico. Folarin Balogun also got his US men's national team debut, and he got fully welcomed to CONCACAF on that challenge in the second half that saw the Mexican player get a red card. And then Weston McKennie was pretty much fighting the entire Mexican national team. He went like 1-on-6. He comes out with like his jersey hanging off of one shoulder, kissing the badge still. That's going to be an iconic moment in US soccer. Just his reaction, the way he stood up to defend his teammates and got sent off for it was pretty awesome. So I love that from McKennie. That being said, Dest also got a red card, so he and McKennie will miss the final. Personally, I think those red card decisions were a little bit harsh for both of them. So I'll be curious to see, Dest in particular, I'll be curious to see if they get rescinded and they are able to play. I guess we'll see. And I talked about how there were so many cards and discriminatory chanting. I thought the referee lost control of the match, and so that's why things kind of got to where they were. Mexico was really frustrated that they were getting dominated by the US, and I think the referee just didn't do a great job of handling things, and then that led to tempers flaring, brawls happening, players getting sent off. He did handle the discriminatory chanting pretty well, I thought. He stopped the game the first time he heard it, then it happened a couple more times, and he eventually just called the game early. But I thought it was a little interesting that he added 12 minutes. I mean, at that point, you'd already have discriminatory chants. You'd had 4 players sent off, multiple like sideline clearing brawls, and then you add 12 more minutes. Like, in my opinion, that was kind of asking for one last brouhaha to happen at the end, and luckily it didn't for the US's sake. So now the US will play Canada in the final, and that should be a pretty exciting game. I'm excited for it. I think the US should be the favorite for sure, but if they don't have Dest and McKennie, that does make things a little more complicated for them. Still, I think they have more talent and more depth on their squad and should be expected to win that game. Now, talking about the Berhalter news. So I am pretty out on Berhalter. There's both on the field and off the field issues with him. Putting the off the field issues aside, if you look at the on the field results, he has been pretty much dominant as expected in CONCACAF play, got the team to the World Cup, also won the Nations League. But outside of CONCACAF, he has underperformed really, and the team has not reached the expectations that everybody has for it. I would not have brought Berhalter back just on evaluating what I saw. But then if you look at the situation as a whole, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And it kind of seems like a waste of time and resources, as many have already pointed out. So going back to December, the US is eliminated from the World Cup in the round of 16. Berhalter's contract is not renewed. The US Soccer Federation fires the sporting director. They hire a new one. They embark on this 6-month-long search for a new coach. They have 2 different interim managers, and then in the end, it just comes back and it's Gregg Berhalter again. And maybe that was their only option, but I just think it's kind of embarrassing that they went 6 months basically indicating that they had moved on from Berhalter. That's the vibe that I got, was that Berhalter was done. They were looking for his replacement, and I know they ask a lot of people, like Zinedine Zidane, for example, turned down the US job, and I'm sure there are a bunch of other guys. Jesse Marsch was in the running for a little bit, but then it goes back to Berhalter. And I think it's the wrong decision unless he was their only option. What is interesting, I think, is that the players have actually backed Berhalter for the most part. Obviously, Gio Reyna, that's a different story, and we won't get into that. But Pulisic has come out and supported Berhalter both before and after the news came out. Timothy Weah also had support for Berhalter both before and after the news came out. So if he has the support of the players and they are willing to play for him, then we'll see. We'll see how things go. Basically, I think the next year or two, as we prepare for the upcoming World Cup, is going to be super important, because this is probably the biggest tournament in US soccer history. It's going to be on home soil. We've got what people think should be our golden generation, our best team in a long time. They'll be in the primes of their careers. This past World Cup, it was a young team. I think third youngest at the World Cup or something like that. This next time, people are going to be in their primes. And so the expectation is fully there to advance to the group stage. And I think people are just desperate for the US to actually win a group stage game for what would be the first time in, I think, 20 years, something like that. And with the World Cup being on home soil, I think the US can do it. But it'll be interesting to see how things go with Berhalter.